Yo, what's up, guys? It's been a long time since I made a video, a very long time. So, still in Japan, actually, my very last day over here, flying back tomorrow. So, we'll be having like 14-hour flight, blah, blah, yada, yada. No one cares. What we care about, balance patch. This is definitely the moment where they could have made the most impactful balance patch. There's no SWC, there's no end of RTA season, there's no Siege tournament, there's no nothing going on. So, this is the moment that you could make hard hitters. I did already pre-read the balance patch. I did already talk a little bit with like Neff, Ismo about it, a bunch of guildies. Just a short brief talk about like what are they thinking, what are good, what is bad. Uh, but let's just dive into the units and then let's see what I think is good about it. Maybe some things that are lacking, maybe some things that people would like to see but haven't been seeing or something like that. But let's just get into it. So first of all, we have the Vampire Light, which is gonna get a chance of critting that is 50% right now. Was his crit all the way to 100% before? I cannot really put up the game right now because it's just, well, it's my laptop is kind of shitty for that reason, so kind of have to deal with that. But yeah, it's going to be a yeah. Before it was when he crits, and he was supposedly always critting in the first place, unless glancing, but he couldn't get glance. So he was always critting, and now it's going to be a higher chance of non-critting. So it's a double 50. I think it is somewhat fair. Would have still rather seen him taken away that crit rate that he has on the S2. The main reason for that is it's still like a high damage dealer. But to be honest, I was talking about it with Nevin Ismo yesterday. Oliver's just kind of dealing with the Light Vampire Julian altogether these days. So it's definitely not as crazy good as he was earlier. And not necessarily because of any balance change, but just because people kind of figured out that Oliver was crazy good into him and kept playing those kind of teams. And therefore, we didn't see that many Olivers in SWC World Finals. So for that reason, I would say this change on Light Vampire is nice-ish. It's definitely not cutting him. The only thing is that they're just adding more RNG. And that's kind of the thing where I'm always like, yeah, we're just adding more RNG. Talking about the next one, Gianna. To be honest, if Gianna gets like nearly cut, I don't care. Like I have Gianna. To be honest, I don't care that much about it. But the thing is, it is the 2B removes all beneficial effects from our enemies. Then, if there is no beneficial effect, you're gonna get a stun chance of 85. And if there was a beneficial effect, it is a guaranteed stun anyhow. So the second part is as Gianna was before, nothing changed. First part is a kind of an RNG check. You're gonna get 15 checked on top of another 15 checked because of like the resistance in the first place. Because there is a chance for resistance in this as well. There's no double check on this because it's a guaranteed stun. So if you strip, there is always a stun. So yeah, we're just kind of adding more RNG to Gianna. Is that really a good change? I don't know. You could have made critical error 1 turn extra cooldown or yes, just 1 turn extra cooldown or something. That could have been a change that you could have done, but is that a better change than this? I don't know. It's definitely going to drop our win rate by a little bit, but it's just adding in like more RNG nonsense. So is that really good or bad? I don't know. To be honest, I'm kind of fine with this nerf. It's just adding more RNG. That's which I kind of don't like. I don't mind if she gets nerfed, but I'd rather see just like a specific nerf that is just longer cooltime or like something removed or something added or people were talking about rather than making it a stun, make it a sleep or something like that. It could have been all like good changes, but now we're just adding RNG. So yeah, let's see. We actually have a lot of changes to the Asuras because Asuras are addressed later as well. So it used to be if you're 50% HP or above, you gain the turn under threat states. Now it is 70, so that's definitely a hard nerf right there. Vitro was one of the most dominant units in 4-star Siege, so not surprised that he's being hit on that one. So yeah, it's definitely a decent nerf over there, but I think it's fine still for a unit. Maybe people start using something else right now. All puppeteers have a recovery of 10% rather than 15%. That is a really big one because that's just cutting off 1/3 of the healing straight up. And I would say especially like for a Zibala, it's the S2, S3 that makes Zibala really strong. For a Smicer, it is definitely that skill 1. For a Zinazek, it's definitely that skill 1. For the Kovaci, I think it's a bit of everything. But I think it's mainly touching the Smicer and the Zinazek of being slightly less annoying and being able to like clear things 1v1 later on because it's just healing an insane amount. So I think fair nerf on those. The silence on the unit that you clicked on, however, for the Puppeteer Fire, aka Zima, is going to be a 2-turn silence, which is definitely pretty strong, unless you miss that one, of course. But Yeah, I think it's not a bad thing that, especially Zima is probably the worst of the puppeteers right now, that he gets like a little bit extra added on those. But I think in general that the puppeteers have a little bit of less healing. I agree. I think that's a fine nerf to nerf all of them, because all four of them, except for the Zima, were pretty strong. You could argue that Smycer was not super impactful in the last few SWC matches or something, or like super high end, but he's still like overall strong Bruce. So getting him a slightly bit down tuned without cutting him is definitely nice, and I think that's the case what they did over here. So then we have the Megami Fire, or yeah, the Megami Fire and Dark, which has the skill 2, which is, let me double check, I'm pretty sure it is the stun. Yeah, the skill 2 is the stun, so lower cooldown on that. I definitely do think that is very good, because his cooldowns was pretty long on that in the first place. It was 3 turns, and it's now going to be a 2 turn, so every other turn. Especially on the Fire Megami, you're going to have that skill up a lot. Dark Megami also gets another buff, which I think is mentioned right after that. Yeah, the Dark Megami is going to get 4 attacks. Well, the first one strips, then we have 2 pushbacks, and then we normally had a attack break, which was kind of weird, like attack power break. Who needs it? But now we have a strip, pushback, attack break, defense break. It is 1 turn though, but since you push back as well, if you land everything on that, that is really strong. Also, there's no unit in the game right now that has a strip, pushback, and attack or death break right now. The attack break still not really useful, but the attack break or the death break, that is definitely something that is pretty nice. So I do think it might be starting to get used in certain cleaves in RTA, but still more in cleaves in like Siege or Arena offense, I would say. It's a little bit lower on the base speed with a 101 base, but it's definitely an interesting unit right there. Then we have the Water Itadori, which is the unit that was able to kill things through passives, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, it's like the death resist kind of thing, okay? And it cannot be revived after. So now you get a shield equal to the damage you dealt for 3 turns. Yeah, it doesn't really change that much. The fire one is the one that had a guaranteed crit on that third skill and then destroyed HP. Now we have increased damage dealt to the enemies whose HP is not destroyed. So that's just, wait, is that just a straight up like 50% damage increase? Because his damage by all means was not great, but it was also not really bad. If we're just slapping on another 50% on that, he's gonna do some great damage. But keep in mind, it's just the first rotation, so it's just the first nuke that you're actually gonna throw at it. But that is going to be a nasty nuke, I would say. Plus then his skill 2, yeah, the fist is also going to be changed. So, wait, what is that? Landing is 50%, the critical increase, 100% when you take things with harmful effect. Okay, but isn't this thing the one that also had crit awakening in the first place? Wait, let me double check that from you are the Itadori, right? Is your awakening? Oh, wait, this thing also doesn't have an awakening. I can check it from showing a monster if it is not ruined. Does anyone have that thing not ruined? Yeah, it is still crit awakening. Are they going to change them for crit awakening? Because this thing, that's, I said it before, like, why the hell is this thing crit awakening if the skill 3 is pretty much guaranteed crit and the S2 is like a 50% crit increase? Why the hell do you need crit awakening? But now this is supposed to be the crit rate increase to 100%. Yeah, and we totally need the 30 crit awakening for that. So, okay, I guess I'm pretty sure I didn't see changes in his awakening. No, okay, so that part is definitely still very weird for me. It is a good change to them, however, I do think so. So, yeah, also the dark one and the wind one and fire all have that skill too, okay. Not too sure if it's good enough for the dark and wind to be interesting enough, because the dark, I would still say, that is the one that is kind of like a Han, but not really a Han-ish kind of thing. I don't know. You could build it on lower crit rates in the first place as well, but is it really that good? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Wind one was the 4-star. Well, that one is called Jean. That is the Jean B in Jean, but then that's the new unit. No, that one is a 4-star. 4-stars they don't really care about. Then we have the Wind Megami. It's increase your attack bar if you get, decrease your attack bar by 30% if you get harmful effects. Okay, big question on that one for me is going to be, would she also get multiple times 30 attack bar? Let's say a Nefty's full hits her 4 debuffs, 120% ATB. Would be nasty if that's the case. This also decrease your HP by okay, and then you also deal damage on things the moment you get a turn. Okay, that could be an interesting one. That could be an interesting one because before it's like she had to take turns, and if she didn't take turns, it was not that interesting in the first place. So yeah, that's something. Then we have the light one, and it's recover your HP by 15% after using a skill. It's a light one. I called it like a weakish weird Molong, and now it's a weakish weird Molong with the healing. I could be very wrong on that, but that's just the light one I still don't really like. Pioneers on Fire, Wind, and Dark will have the Northern Star to be always critting. I definitely do think in most cases Chiwu is built a little bit more damage focused. It does also make no, actually for wound sets not that bad as well, because I have seen a bunch of wound sets that like to be very low HP so they don't get trapped by Nem on that skill 3. But for that reason they go like an attack slot, like attack flat slot 4 or a crit so just something like of those kind of things. But now you could actually go crit damage 4, still do a lot of damage on your S2, but not do that much damage on your S3. Maybe so something along the lines could be interesting. I don't know. Mainly for Chiwu, I would say crit damage Chiwu would be a lot more interesting in that, because that skill does tend to do a lot of damage. However, it is not as great anymore into wrong elements, because this, since it never glanced, you could smack this on wrong elements, smack this on like a Douglas or something, and just get your way through with that. But now it is, well, if it's, no, wait, if it's always a crit, you cannot glance as well. Potato mind. But yeah, no, actually that works the same way either how. So there's a lot of like guaranteed crits these days. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. This one is actually pretty freaking insane, I think. I think this unit is actually going to be very meta. We have seen Les use it in last SLBC. He was actually using it in like a bunch of seasons ago as well. But this unit used to be a self-heal. And it was a pretty nasty self-heal, like 30% self-heal. But in this case, it's going to be recovering the HP of all allies by 20%. I do think it is based on the HP of your allies, so it's just like a flat 20% whatever HP they're at. It's not going to be from your HP, because that would be fucking nasty, because this thing is built on a lot of HP. But this skill 3 is loaded as hell. It's attack bar, absorb, it is stuns, it is healing, then the S2 is an insane amount of damage. Wow, like I really do think that this thing for bruiser fights, more people are going to be picking up on the what's it called? Is it Jungnam? Yeah, I think it's Jungnam. Jungnam, the water Dokbiloid. I do think he's pretty crazy. Any units? Hey, yeah, my those get buffed. You know, these always get buffed. Yeah, my these get buffed. I don't care. You can say whatever you want. But yeah, Akroma being buffed. I always said I really liked Akroma, and I definitely did not think Akroma was shit. A lot of people disagree with me. Well, you have to put good roots to Akroma to make it work, and it works only against specific teams, blah, blah, yada, yada. Whatever, I do really like Akroma in the previous state already, and I'm gonna like him more in the next state. So, when allies are hit by non-critical hits, increases your attack bar by 5 up to 20%. So, that means any AoE you do where you do not crit, and I'm not sure if it's you don't crit because of the passive not critting, or just not critting in the first place at all. That is going to be a lot of fucking A to B for this unit right there. If you're playing against Zibalas or Dark Robos, Sierras, blah, 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 those kind of units, Athnas, he's going to rock a lot of A to B. Akroma's going to be nasty, tell you that much. For the people that have Chroma do want to ruin it, Vioblade. 100 crit rate, high crit damage, survivability, that's the way you want to go. Blade for sure. Don't go Revenge. The Revenge is fucking useless on this thing. Just go all stats. Even if you go energy or focus, totally fine. You just want to get as many stats with Vio in there. Next up, we have more kicking in back in the season. When you get hit by the enemy, which is on your passive, so I think only when your passive activates. I'm not sure if it's going to be that all the time or only when the passive activates. I do think it will be when the passive activates, because this is part of the passive. You get a attack power for 1 turn, which is pretty like Moore can already dish out a good amount of damage, which could be a very nasty one. Could definitely be a very nasty one. Then the next one is also, yeah, more about these get buffed. Well, that was actually kind of sad that Cyrus was getting worse than, or Grogan was getting worse than Cyrus, which is of course the LD5. LD5 is super cool, blah, blah. Krogan buff, Decimate, recovers your turn instantly when you defeated an enemy. So it's kind of Talisman vibes, where you can go S3, S2. The only thing is Talisman is still technically better because you do not need that attack buff or like maxing out the crit. But Grogan does have a lot of passive countering kind of things in his kit. So Well, it's mainly just the anti-revive. It's not that many passive countering, but anti-revive, which in the end is pretty darn strong. So definitely I will be rushing with Grogan again. It is harder to rune than a Zyros to dish out the same amount of damage, that is for sure. But if you can go S3, S2, it's pretty nice. I must say that the damage on the Grogan's S2 is not crazy high. It is a decent amount, but I'm pretty sure it does start up stacking a lot more damage the moment that you actually do land a stun. So let me see, is that the case? Yeah, you do deal 50% extra damage if the enemy is stunned. And the stun chance is just about a 40% times 4. So the earlier you stun, the more damage you would do. You could also go for a skill one, which just is a pretty hard hit as well. So in the end, definitely don't mind it. Definitely will be using that again. Also this one, Shinze, Wind Monkey. We have the attack bar increase if you're attacked while under inability effects. They're going to remove that, so it's not going to be stacking as much on the 8p as it was before. So it's a little bit more controllable. However, the moment that he counterattacks, he's going to be removing a beneficial effect from the enemy. Personally, if you want to make him real good, I would say steal rather than remove. But just removing is already decent. The only big issue is that I think his activation on that is about like 50% or even less. No, his counter rate is at a 35. Yeah, it kind of is like this RNG unit if he's actually going to do that and then also properly land. So he could strip and stun though. And that is pretty nasty, but he becomes very RNG. But there's something against the turn twos, I guess so. Then we have the Twin Angels on Fire, Wind, and Dark, which are also the three that are used the least right now. And they're going to have immunity for 2 turns, which is definitely a good amount better. My big question is if the kit, like, is the rest of the kit interesting enough already to actually make that work? I'm not sure. I'm not really sure if that is enough, but 2-turn immunity is always better than 1, so that's just a simple fact. Then we have the light one, which is going to be a very consistent stripper, actually, because it is hitting 3 times for a 70%. That is really insane. Like a 3 times 70 strip and a 3 times 70 pushback. Oh no, wait, is this strip 100%? No, I think both of them are 50. But yeah, I would say that 70 on that one is really strong. Definitely players like Raigeki and Hanselot are really going to like this buff. But I think in general, also Eric B was using this a lot. So if you have the good artifacts on this to make this your main stripper, this is a really nasty unit right now. It's a pretty loaded kit altogether right there, especially if these rates are more upped. I'm actually surprised that they didn't do the same thing for the dark one, because I felt like the dark one, rather than getting extra immunity, I think it should have given more chance to Death Break, because it's a 2-turn Death Break. Oh no, wait, it hits 2 times for a 3-turn Death Break with a 50% chance. If you made that 50 to a 70, the dark one would have been really good. And now it's kind of like, yeah, it can armor break, but it can also immunity, and it's a little bit in the middle what his like real core ideas what he should do. But I guess it is a step in the right direction. Then we have the Christina, and right now is the passive effect is stacked up to 5 times. You remove all harmful effects when your turn starts. So mostly she is used as this turn 2 kind of unit. Most of the time when you use it in arena offense, it is Leo Galleon plus a Delphoy, and the Delphoy already cleanses, so it doesn't really matter all too much on this change. But I could see some usage here and there. Then we have the Leona and the Josephine, which now, if there's nothing to strip, provokes for 2 turns, and they also give the counter on that, so the provoke and counter. You can lock down units more often on that. I think it's a nice buff. It's really making them like super strong. Not really. Then we have the Devil Maiden, which I think is a pretty interesting unit. It's just one of those. It's like a segment. If it misses, it's like, yeah, never mind. Unit didn't do anything this game. At least with segment you can try, in the next turn with this one you cannot. So, but now you have more things to steal. So against multiple buffs, it's a little bit better. Then we have the Geralt with Wind and Dark. The attack installs a bomb that detonates for after 2 turns. Okay, wait, which skill is that? Is that their normal bombing skill, or which one is that? Wait. I am looking for Star of Explosion, which is the S2. Okay, so that he becomes 100% bomb. Okay, that's fair. Big question is then, would that actually make it with the passive of Geralt that he has no, like, that he could land 100% of the time or something like that? I don't know. He just becomes a more consistent bomber, but the East, like, both of them are HP based bombers. It's just useless. I don't know. I'm really not sure if this is going to be enough for them to make it good. He does get another 10% in the activation rate from his skill up, so he's going to be at 100% with that. But still resistance checks and everything like that. Yeah, I don't know. Then we have the Jennifer, which is prioritizing spreading on the thing that has the highest ATP. It's okay, but then the thing is, if that thing with the highest ATP already has that, then you would spread it again to the same thing and again to the same thing. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily a buff or making it worse. It would have been better if it prioritizes spreading the thing that is not on the one already. So if you put Oblivion on one, I want the Oblivion on another one, not on the same one, kind of style, right? So it would have been better to have a change like, okay, sure, it prioritizes highest ATP, but if the highest ATP already has, spread it to someone else, right? I don't know. But now it's like, okay, it does have Oblivion, I think. Pretty sure this thing he has Oblivion. Yes, the Oblivion S2, which also has a chance to stun, and it goes up to like 100 rate for the Oblivion. So it is a something. It is a something they're trying. Then the light one was this kind of like hey gang-ish unit for a 4-star. Increase the HP of yourself and the ally with the highest HP by 20 and remove one harmful effect. That becomes a lot more like a hey gang, like a 4-star hey gang. I could see that unit becoming a 4-star hey gang right now because you also boost your unit that's moving after rather than just boosting yourself and then being like, yeah, I boosted myself and now I can just give Oblivion or something. It's like kind of that. So that's a little bit better. This one really came out of the blue for me. Like I read this one earlier. Well, wait, this mouse is kind of jumping all over the place. I read the Chakram Dancer earlier, and I was like, wait, why is that Chakram Dancer? Like it's so out of key with everything else. Like to be honest, I don't mind it, but it is so strange to see. Like, oh yeah, not a single other twin is changed, but this twin we're gonna do. And this is actually a strip. It deals damage to enemy max HP. No, it's not enemy max HP. Yeah, it's just extra damage on debuffs, but then it's kind of fixed-ish. Is it really going to be like a siege unit? I don't know. Is it going to be more PvE unit? I don't really know neither. So kind of a strange change for me. 4-turn cooldown on that is pretty lengthy in the first place because it was 5 before and it goes -1 with the cooldown of the skill ups itself. So now it's going to be on a 3-turn with that. So with another twin next to it, you're going to have that skill up pretty often. But is it really the thing that's going to make this shine? Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Then we have Neostone Fighters. So that is Trevor and Carl. I think Trevor is a pretty nice unit in the first place. It's just kind of lacking things from time to time, especially against wrong elements and those kind of things. It's mainly placed as a vampire unit. Like way back in the days, people were using Travers in RTA, but now it might actually be your 4-star that could do a thing. There's already a lot of good fire bruises out there, though, so it's maybe not the best. But the S2, which is the Relentless Strike, is going to be on a won't land as a glance. So that's definitely nice. Is it really that great? I don't know. It can maybe beat up water units a little bit more, but is it really that crazy? I don't know. Also, the other ones, the water, wind, and light, will have they have the sharp strike, which is the one that you land a death break, and if you're below 50% HP, you will also gain another turn, and you need to crit to actually get that. But it did inflict continuous damage before. That's going to be a brand. So it's going to be a armor break brand in one skill with potentially another turn on top of that. I would say Lucas is already absolute god tier for all of the beasts like rift raids. It is going to be absolutely god tier and OP for all of the beast raids. You definitely like any team doesn't matter what element you want to put a Lucas in, especially now that it brands. It's just a lot better. Does it make it like the Brian and what's the other one, Logan, good enough to be useful with just the brand? I'm not really seeing it that much. So not too sure about that. Then we have the Sylph skill 1 will decrease the attack bar by 30% with a 75 chance. Yeah, I don't know. good for like DOA if you're still doing that with like an Ashubel or like a Beretta or whatever. Maybe good for 18 Dark, which I'm definitely not gonna attempt again until they actually hard change something. Fuck that at this stage. So yeah, interesting. Nah, kinda. Then with the Asura Water, that's I did say before that the Asura Dark was actually nerfed, but they're also therefore addressing all of the Asuras to become maybe a little bit more interesting-ish. So in this case, attacks always as a attribute advantage when attack power is maximized. When do we maximize the attack power? Gradually increase your attack power whenever you attack the enemy. But there, it doesn't say when that's maxed. Like I don't, it doesn't state in the thing that when it is maxed. So I have no clue. Attribute advantage is never bad though, but if it's like a conditional thing to get attribute advantage, then I'm like kind of like it could be something. I'm not really sure. Let's check out the fire one. Fire one we have erase the stats for the numbers attacked. Okay, difference between the oh east. I'm like erased. No east. So it's easier to get enough attack in and then get all of the numbers in. Okay, fair, fair. Not crazy, not bad, I guess. And then we have the light one, which becomes a little bit easier to build because you just get a built-in crit rate. Okay. And then we also have for water, fire, and lights. Also easier to get the number of multi-hits and according to your attack. Okay, that's... I don't know those exact numbers. I don't know what it was before. I don't know what it's going to be after. Might be interesting, might be not that great. I don't know. Then we have a few more changes to the Neostone Fighters. And the Neostone Fighters are just getting more HP, more attack, and less defense, which is interesting. And they're only doing that on Trevor and Call, which is kind of a strange part. I'm not sure if Lucas and the others already had decent stats on that, but yeah, why not? Why not? It's they don't need that much defense, so I think it's a good change. And then this is more of a siege change altogether, which is mermaids are going to get different leader skills, or going to get stop moving leader skills in the first place. So before Kiklet was the main one that people looked at. The water one, Tetra was the main one that people looked at. Dark one was the main one that people looked at. But now the fire one, which is actually not used that much, and I do think that the fire one, I don't even know her name, but that one has the anti-revive, I think. And anti-revive on a speed lead, yeah, that's Burning Hearts. Platy, of course, it's named Platy. How can I forget? It was actually a good unit in Chronicles. But it has the revive on the S2. It has heal on the S2, and then it has the anti-revive, or wait, was it stun for one turn? Max cooldown. Yeah, it's max cooldown, so it's not anti-revive. It's anti-revive in Chronicles, that's why I was thinking about it. But it's actually the stun, and it is the cooldown resetter on a speed lead. Gives a little bit more options. Only issue is before main speed leads were Kamoon and Carcano, and now Platy. What do they all have in common? They're fire! So yeah, it's would have rather seen like the wind unit get like a 24 lead or something. Then again, it is anti-Lucian, so it's not the worst. It does have to revive. Yada yada. It might be something. And then we also have Dark, which is the beta, which will get an HP lead. In most cases, you do tend to want to go for speed lead rather than HP lead in all kinds of defense teams. But it is not that bad. I definitely don't think it is that bad. So in general, just to recap all of this, what are the big takes? What are the big winners? What are the big losers on this? I don't think we have any really big losers. Like, I think the nerfs on the Vampire and the Gianna, they're just RNG, but they're not necessarily like really big losers. Same for the Puppeteers, maybe a little bit more of like a consistent big lose. I do think that the Dark Megami might be interesting, but he still has to land everything, which makes him a little bit hard to use. But his skill 3 is pretty loaded with a strip pushback and attack break, death break, which is definitely a nice setup for a lot of other things coming after that. I would definitely say that the Acroma is really good. Moore might get a lot more play right now as well. Grogan becomes good again for arena stuff. I definitely do think Light Twin Angels, if you have good runes, you need really good runes and really good artifacts to actually make it work, but I do think it's a pretty good unit right now as well. Wind Monkey, I'm not too sure about if he's going to be that great because of just the lower-ish odds of actually countering in the first place, but it might be a decent one out there. And I think that's mainly it. And we might see a few changes to some mermaids and those kind of things. So that is my take on this balance patch. I do think they could have went for a bigger balance patch than they actually did. They didn't really want to address that much once again, even though they had a lot of chance. So we're definitely still going to be seeing Chandras, Cigars, Valajules, Olivers, Haygangs, those kind of things that people don't really like that much because they've been playing into it for a longer time. Are any of those units slightly going to push out some of those units being used? I don't think so, because in the end, more being buffed might actually get some more play. Achroma is not great into those units, it's great into the other combo like Athna, Sierra, Dark Robot, blah, blah, blah. It might definitely be, I forgot to mention about this one, Jungnam might definitely get a lot more play. And the thing is, he might get a lot more play with Chandra Valajul Cigar, because Chandra Valajul Cigar plus a Dokubi Lord seems like an insane bruiser team. So I think we might see some of those. It's just like, I don't know. So yeah, I would say they could have done more with like nerfing Haygang, which most people would like to see because they just dislike playing into Haygang. Or a nerf to Cigar, like easy nerf, just lower the numbers to just like lower it to 50 or just like lower by 50 rather than just say 0, those kind of things. Definitely a bunch of things that you could have done. Chandra and Valaju, I would say, is more okay-ish in current state. You could have made Chandra Hug skill 2 like a higher cooldown or something, could be a thing that they could have done. Valaju is kind of okay-ish, maybe a cool time on Sanctuary, but would be a little bit weak without Twin Angels in that case, so yeah, there are a few options there, but they decided not to take any of those. Same for Haygang, they could have like lowered the numbers on like the ITB that he gains and those kind of things, but they decided against those and actually keep in the units as we see here on the screen. Not too many LB buffs at all. Funny enough, I got hit twice on that, so I'm happy on that. Happy with the Grogan, happy with the Achroma, and in general, I don't think it is a bad balance patch, but I also don't think it is a crazy good one because they could have addressed more, especially because of the timing. It's just as big as most of the previous balance patches as well, where I did kind of expect a little bit more than that. So I would say normally I would give this balance patch probably like a 7.5 out of 10. But since the timing is what it is right now, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. But me being a little bit biased and happy with the Achroma and Grogan, I give it an 8 out of 10. So those are my numbers for this balance patch, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be back streaming and making YouTube videos very soon, so you know where to find me on the YouTube channel, on the Twitch channel, and everywhere else. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to hear more about the whole trip in Japan, let me know in the comments as well. I see you as always in the next one. Oh, and by the way, in case you write it, yes, the microphone is probably scuffed.